What is ANIMUSIC? There is a big chance that you have seen these videos before. And they're pretty mesmerizing, even for today's standards. But there's this really distinct itch I had back then. Are these real? Who made these? Do they actually move on Earth like sentient beings? Will they take over the world in 13 years' time? Who are the people behind these creations? Why are the sticks flying? Chillax. All of these will be answered. Take a seat, lean back and relax, as I take you to the wonderful world of ANIMUSIC. It all started with a guy named Wayne Lytle. Wayne has been a musician for his entire life, composing music and playing instruments, specifically the drums and the piano. He was a progressive rock band member in many bands and studied classical piano. He has already envisioned animatic music in 1982. He only got the opportunity to get his hands on 3D in 1988. But before we get to know what's happening right now, we gotta move back, way back, to know everything leading us to where he is right now. Chapter 1. Before ANIMUSIC. Everything that's big was once small, and ANIMUSIC's popularity fits right into this category. His old creations were so hidden, some fans didn't know what Wayne did before until now. Some of his creations were made while Wayne is still an undergrad computer science and music student. While most of the stuff were very science-y,
Topography shows which way an object would roll on the surface. With this color map, objects would roll from yellow to red in isolation. The distance 1.0 represents the effective
there is a particular film that he did that really showed that he was having fun despite all the science being thrown in his face. And it also showed that he was experimenting and trying to get a feel of what he's going to do in the future. And that film is The Dangers of Glitziness. And yes, I would show the whole thing because why not?
This visualization is visualization of single episodes of the simulation är vad forskningen känner och hälsoskapande presenterar vi vår visualisation och visualisation är att det är en automatic reverse impression.
Now, most of the time, the music on his films were his own creations, but those films never sync the music with the animations shown. Now, imagine being Wayne in 1998, having access to the instruments and the computers that are capable of making your visions come true. What would you do? Well, he did the only reasonable thing he'd do at that time. Chapter 2. The First Small Steps. In 1990, he started messing around with animating music with MIDI, and giving us more bells and whistles, or MBOW for short. That's like the sound those green blobs make.
Oh, actually they're called thumps, and I think they should resurrect them later on.
Shut up. it featured a set of seemingly unique, out-of-this-world instruments, like this cool-looking octopus space lasers on floating sticks, a marble fountain that placed a vibraphone, and a self-playing set of organ pipes. Yeah, those look weird. Now don't forget those 4 things, as they will be referenced later on. All of these glorious visualizations were made with MIDI. A year later, in 1991, he received an award from IBM because, why not, those things look cool. Now in 1995, Wayne met David Crognale. According to his portfolio, he's a big web guy, a world builder, and a 3D modeler, which really could help Wayne actually make his dream into a thing that exists easier. And together they created Beyond the Walls, with MIDI still controlling the somewhat anthropomorphic drum creatures. And those lasers look familiar. They initially called themselves Visual Music because why not? It's literally visuals and music together. But they thought it was cringe, so at this point, they've now called themselves ANIMUSIC. Now before we move on, what does even ANIMUSIC and MIDI mean? And how do they make these animations? Let's get over with MIDI first very swiftly. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It's a standard protocol made back in the 80s to sync up multiple instruments for live performances. Roland founder Ikotaro Kakehashi and Sequential Circuits president Dave Smith saw the instrument syncing problem and thought, hey, what if we make like a standard for music syncing and making? So they sat on the drawing board and made a standard that can make keyboards talk via wire, telling the keyboards which notes to play, when to stop playing them, how loud those notes were, how intense the vibrato is, how far the instrument is panned left or right, how far it bends, and a fuck ton of other variables that's limited to the magic number of 128. And that idea was implemented into digital audio workstations to connect multiple people collaborating in a single song. With a very lightweight file density, the file itself doesn't have any audio information. Instead, it contains a list of instructions telling those keyboards what to do with those parameters mentioned earlier. It was introduced to the world in the 1983 National Association of Music Merchants show, or NAMM show, if you're a cool kid. And since MIDI only contains instructions, it can control anything as long as the device supports MIDI. With MIDI being brought into existence, Wayne utilized the MIDI file to make animation music. ANIMUSIC! ANIMUSIC is literally just a portmanteau of animation and music. Now let's get back on track. In 2001, they have released ANIMUSIC 1, which featured 7 tracks, and those tracks are Future Retro, a room with a triple neck guitar, a robot playing drums, and a bunch of lasers. Remember Ambao? Yeah, that's it. Stick Figures, an open stage filled with seemingly adorable stick instruments, hence the word stick being in the track name. 3 pairs of flowing drumsticks, a horn tower, a laser synth, again, a self-playing pan flute, oh yeah, that seems familiar, and 2 percussion instruments, one melodic and one not, played with yet again floating sticks. Oh, they fly, whoa. Aqua Harp, a water-filled room with a harp that has extra instruments attached to it. Drum Machine, a room filled with drums being played by machines. What did you expect, floating drumsticks? Pipe Dream, a room filled with mostly percussion instruments being played by machinery that launches metal marbles. Also, yeah, metal marbles, see that thing over there? Yep. Acoustic Curves, a floorless loom with mostly stringed instruments. It's like Drum Machine but more melodic compared to being groovy. Harmonic Voltage, the last track of this album with a Tesla coil looking instrument, backed up with floating drumsticks and a couple of bass towers filled with radioactive fruit juice. The DVD contained solo cams, which are renders that featured single instruments playing a particular piece of music. This album was re-released in 2004. In 2005, they released ANIMUSIC 2 that had 8 tracks this time, those tracks being Starship Groove, a floating spaceship filled with robots that play what appears to be MIDI drum pads. For some reason they remind me of Among Us. Oh god. Pogo sticks, a predecessor to stick figures because they contain what appears to be an evolved species of these stick instruments from ANIMUSIC 1. Resonant chamber, a room, assumingly a tower, containing an instrument that appears to be a guitar, a double bass, a harp, a koto, a ukulele, and another guitar combined into one instrument. Cathedral pictures is what appears to be a church with a light emitting organ. The salt shakers from Acoustic Curves, a horn tower yet again, a drum set played by a 4-armed robot, and 10 cannons, 5 placed on each side of the church. Pipe Dream 2 is a direct sequel to the original Pipe Dream. Fiber bundles looks like a fever dream. Seriously, most of the instruments that are played with what appears to be strings of optical fiber cables. Gyro drums is presumably a sequel to Drum Machines, since this also features drum-only parts, only changing styles a few bars or so. And lastly, Heavy Light, that displays an outer space themed temple with instruments popping out from the floor. And for some reason I see these people making lore behind all of these animations about these instruments being actual living existing creatures, and they're trying to connect with other life forms, presumably the entire human race. And boy, I find these to be very, very deep. But who knows? According to the infinite universe theory, there might be a universe where humans and instruments live in harmony, or in vain. We'll never know. But it did sure spark a ton of people. Just take a look at these creations. This one is from Zach G and March C. This one created by iMac, Virtual Turtle, and Zane Little. Think Gamer with his amazing solo cams. And Epic Tunes with his Lego creations. It did sure spark a ton of people, it really did. Well, it is amazing to see these creations. It just shows that they have done an impact. And despite Dave parting ways with ANIMUSIC, I still consider these two guys to be the GOAT when it comes to animation music. ANIMUSIC is special. It's not just this collection of animations you'd see. It's an art piece, a visual eye candy, and an inspiration to those who want to pursue their dreams. And despite ANIMUSIC 3 not being brought to fruition, 2 of these collections of animations are enough for me. I think the real ANIMUSIC 3 is the friends we made along the way, the people we met that have the same interests, the amount of joy we have received from just watching these, and the sheer amount of inspiration. Thank you, ANIMUSIC. Thank you very much. my god, that got so deep. But that was unscripted at all. All of that was, I just came that up. I just came up with that in like a night. Everything. I searched up some facts and then I just threw in some magical words and I had a script. Well, I want to say thanks to 100 subs. Gosh, that is a lot of eyes staring at this, whatever this is. Now, this video is a bit different compared to the things I've made, but I'm really surprised that you're still here. And for some reason, this channel is slowly becoming an ANIMUSIC channel, considering all the things I've uploaded was ANIMUSIC type. But don't worry, there still will be videos that aren't ANIMUSIC related, so stay tuned, and I will guys see you in the next upload. Bye.